Hello, and welcome to the show. I'm Bill Ted. Today we have with us the famous Greek poet and writer of the Iliad and the Odyssey, Homer. And our second is another well-known poet from Rome, writer of the Aeneid, Virgil. Give them both a big hand. It's great to have you both here. But since we have limited time, I will start straight into the interview. To start off, why are you both wearing ties?
Well, Bill, Ted, we just wanted to seem more professional because we know that we're from the past and all, so we wanted to present ourselves well. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
For my next question is, how do you view your societies?
I'll go. I view my society as very moral. It's based upon religion and law being in the household, and obedience is the key. Honesty and bravery are important in children to learn as they grow up, and the perfect Roman citizen is a man who holds strong piety, which is the responsibility for his entire family throughout all of the years of the family's existence.
My society was very warlike, and so to achieve greatness or arete, you had to be very powerful, and it was a great shame to die without elkios, which is dying without fame. Like if you were put into battle and you just gave up instead of fighting your own battle.
For my next question, I'd like to ask, how do your poems relate to your society?
Well, my times were different, and it was before the alphabet was written. So my poems showed of how the society worked and how people achieved their greatness or arete. And then, in a time of war, they achieved it through honor and through virtue.
My poems relate to my society. Like in the Aeneid, Aeneas, the main character, makes an offering to the Lyre of Troy that shows that he is responsible for not only his household, but the Trojan families before him and the Roman families to come, showing that Romans have to be responsible for everyone in their family. And he was a Roman.
All right, so name some specific heroes in your writings and who or what they relate to.
Well, in my writings, the Iliad and the Odyssey, my heroes were Odysseus and Achilles. And Odysseus represented a great-minded Greek, while Achilles represented the perfect warring Greek.
In mine, in the Aeneid, Aeneas does not relate to any real human of that time, but he was what one would call the perfect Roman hero. He is very loyal to Rome and his family, and those are two values that I found most important in the Roman culture.
I hear you both have different views of the underworld. What are they?
My view of Hades is it's a very geographical place, and it's graphic and frightening. I think that, well, I believe that people go there for doing very extreme wrongdoings, and they need to be punished. It's a place for harm, and its vision is meant to keep the Romans from wanting to go there. Once they pay for what they did wrong, and after they've been tortured, then if the people in the underworld believe that they did a good job fixing it, then they can be reborn.
My view of the underworld is different because I question that if being dead is so awful, what is it about being human that attends to the infinite suffering that we will get when we die? So I come to think that the underworld isn't as graphic as Virgil's, but it's just more of a place of peace in darkness.
For my next question, I'd like to ask, who influenced your work?
Well, as you may know, I was blind, so it was more about the wars going on and stories that I've heard that it influenced my work and my writings. I wrote about the community and suffering and war and love.
Actually, Homer was my inspiration. My works have been based off what I read of him, and when I wrote about the Trojan War, that's where I got all of the history. He's been my influence for all of my writings. Thank you, Homer.
No problem.
For my next question, what parts did the gods play in your poems?
Well, I know that gods are immortal, but in my poems, or as I like to call them, songs, I showed that gods have a human side, and so they argue with people, they fight, they pick sides as they did in the Trojan War, and so they're very human, but they are immortal.
In the Aeneid, gods and goddesses are very important to the story. The main character, Aeneas, his mother was Venus herself, or Aphrodite to you, Homer. The gods and goddesses that were on good terms with Venus were on Aeneas' side, but like Juno was not on good terms with Venus, so her and Venus were fighting throughout the whole thing, which influenced his life and changed the mortals' lives.
What particular elements were you trying to portray in your writings?
Well, I was trying to show that in Greek society it was important to be honorable by fighting your own battles and having good morals and values and being an overall good citizen.
In my writing, I displayed anger and loyalty to the state through the characters of the Aeneid and their actions. There's also political leanings towards Augustus because he was a close companion and classmate of mine, and I agreed with his views on the government.
Virgil,
Yeah.
what are your feelings towards the state and government?
I believe that Roman government was strong, and I'm fully loyal to my country. In the Aeneid, I did try to demonstrate my feelings against the government, though, because it was being too materialistic at the time.
What are some symbols you used in your works, and what did they symbolize?
Well, my works, the Iliad, is about strength. It symbolizes strength, and the Odyssey symbolizes cunning. And in the Odyssey, women are symbols of threats to men because they lead them astray, as the sirens led the fishermen astray and caused them to crash. So they are seen as big threats, but they also play a major role in my books, writings.
In my writings, fire is commonly used. It symbolizes love and destruction. It's also used in Hades, where it adds to the torture and the geographical look because it's natural. The golden bow is something that Aeneas carries with him to the underworld so that he can access it. Because he's mortal, without it he would not be able to go. It's a symbol for his importance to the Roman society and to the story. The Trojan hearths are used in my writing to show that even though Troy had been defeated, the Trojans and the legends of them will still live on. Also, weather is used as symbolism for when the gods are angry, like when Juno was mad at Venus, so she started a storm.
Thank you for watching the show. Up next, we have Caligula and Nemo. Your name
My name is Virgil.
for your name. Homer.
So showed they had to be
Used for torture. The golden bow is something that Aeneas carries with him to the underworld. In my writings, a few symbols that I used were fire, which is used for love and destruction. And to Roman society.
It smells like mint. Okay.